Hi, my name is Joseph Dragoo, and this is a persuasive speech, and I'm going to do it on performance-enhancing drugs. It's bottom of the seventh, bases are loaded with one out. Alex Rodriguez steps up to bat against Minnesota Twins pitcher J.R. Graham. Graham hurls a 95-mile-an-hour fastball at Rodriguez, who then launches it out of the park. This results in Rodriguez's 25th career Grand Slam, the most in Major League Baseball history. This isn't the only record held by A-Rod. He is the youngest player to ever hit 500 home runs. He also holds the record for the most stolen bases in a 50 home run season. He actually holds too many records to mention. So why in the world would the Major League Baseball suspend a player of that talent for 162 games? The longest non-lifetime suspension in baseball history? Alex Rodriguez admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs, or PEDs, in 2001 to 2003. When he played for the Texas Rangers, according to Jay Weaver of the Miami Herald, since his admittance in 2009, the Major League Baseball has been keeping a closer eye on Rodriguez, and in 2014 was given a season-long suspension for the use of testosterone cream, lozenges laced with testosterone, and human growth hormone injections from 2010 to 2012. This suspension cost Rodriguez nearly $25 million and his reputation. And for what? Doing his job better? In this speech, I will discuss what the current outcome of using PEDs for professional athletes is. I will then give you reasons why the rules regarding PED use should be discarded, and come to the conclusion that the positive aspects of performance-enhancing drugs outweigh the negative, and that PEDs should be allowed to be used by professional athletes. Before I begin, I want to make it clear that I'm only supporting the use of professional athletes, and that I by no means support college or high school level athletes using PEDs. So what happens when an athlete tests positive for a PED on a mandatory drug test? All professional sports do urine tests to test their players for drug use, and the performance-enhancing drugs they are looking for are anabolic steroids, as well as human growth hormones, stimulants, and diuretics. BaseballReference.com says the current regulations for performance-enhancing drugs in the MLB require that a first positive drug test for steroids result in a 50-game suspension without pay. A second offense results in a 100-game suspension without pay, and a third results in a lifetime ban from professional baseball. In the NFL, a first positive drug results in a 4-game suspension without pay. The second positive test would result in an unpaid 8-game suspension, and a third would result in a 12-month suspension without pay. In the NBA, a first offense would result in a 10-game suspension without pay. A second would result in a 25-game suspension, and a third would result in a suspension of an entire season without pay. And finally, a fourth offense would result in a minimum of a 2-year suspension without pay. My first chart is this is a chart of the most commonly used performance-enhancing drugs, and they're all a different version of steroids. The anabolic steroids take up over half of the chart, and the green other, those are the human growth hormones. And these are in all of professional, this is throughout all of professional sports. My next chart right here, and this is just using the NFL as an example. These are the total games suspended from 2002 to 2015. As you can see, in 2014, they had a peak of about 185 suspensions. And the charts are both are from drugabuse.com. So, not only are athletes sacrificing doing what they love, but they give up millions of dollars. Why would they do that? Why risk so much? Jose Canseco, a famous MLB star who wrote a book about his steroid use during his career, said, "I don't recommend steroids for everyone, but for certain individuals, I truly believe, because I've experimented with it for so many years, that it can make an average athlete a super athlete. It can make a super athlete incredible." And that's the whole reason, to do what they're paid to do better. Do we really live in a world where we punish an employee for doing everything in their power to be the best at their job? It's fairly hypocritical to hire someone on the premise that I will pay you millions of dollars, but in return, I expect you to play to the best of your ability, to try to win as many games possible, to then turn around and say, since we have proof that you increase your ability artificially, which resulted in you winning us more games, we are not going to let you play, and we're certainly not going to pay you. You better learn your lesson, otherwise next time you improve yourself, we'll make it worse for you. Athletes accept the risk of getting caught, just as they accept the risks of taking the drugs. They know that using steroids increases their chance of heart attack, and human growth hormone can give them severe carpal tunnel. If they're willing to risk it, then we should let them. Why is it acceptable that an actress risk her body going through cosmetic surgery to look young for her next movie, but we shame an athlete for making their muscle recovery faster? People take risks every day. It's just part of life. But that's the problem, isn't it? We put athletes to a higher standard than ourselves, and we don't want to think about them as people living life just like we do. Sure, they have more money and fame than most of us, but they desire success just as you and I do. We as a society are always looking for the easy way out anymore. So why wouldn't athletes make their job a little easier too? But more so, why is it such a problem? We thrive on their entertainment, which only improves through the use of performance-enhancing drugs. The only reason we watch sports events is for entertainment. So let them give us a real show and perform better than we can even imagine. I'm sure a couple of ethical questions are running through your heads at this point. Yes, PEDs are illegal. But did you know that we spend more money on legal drugs, such as coffee, cigarettes, and prescriptions, than any other country on earth? They're just as addictive and dangerous as PEDs. Yet they don't help someone earn millions of dollars and feel accomplished as the fastest and strongest person in all of the NFL. So the legality of PEDs should be changed anyway, even if the use of them in professional sports remains unapproved. In fact, if PEDs became regulated, there would be fewer problems with overdoses and athletes would be safer overall. Another ethical problem that is commonly brought up when discussing performance-enhancing drugs is giving players unfair advantages over another. Well, if all the players are allowed to use PEDs, there isn't that much of an unfair advantage anymore. Remember, PEDs only heighten a player's natural ability, so the better player is going to be better regardless. Athletes are role models for lots of kids, so would condoning their use of PEDs be a bad influence on kids? The answer is no. No more than anything else we expose our children to. We let our kids listen to music that glorifies violence, sex, and intoxication. Marketing companies depend on alcohol and sex to sell their products. So who decided that the use of all those was acceptable and safe, but PEDs are not? I say that with all the harmful things in the world, it's unrealistic to get rid of them all. So let's allow the ones that can actually do people good, like PEDs. And as parents, make sure we are raising our kids to be aware of things that can harm us and make good decisions about whether or not using them is the right thing to do. And finally, money. Team owners want as much of it as they can. Allowing performance-enhancing drugs to be used would make them more money. Not only would they save money by not having to test the athletes, but they would make more money through ticket sales. Fans are pretty die-hard already, but by allowing athletes to play even better, people would be willing to pay even more. So this chart right here is the fines issued, and this is again from 2002 to 2015. So the fines issued for steroid use was about 22 million in 2014. So in conclusion, performance-enhancing drugs can be dangerous, but if an athlete wants to risk it, then we should let them. Athletes are people just like us, and we shouldn't blame them for wanting to use every tool available to be the best. And the fact that PEDs are illegal isn't the issue. It's why they are illegal. While so many other addictive substances are legal, legalizing performance-enhancing drugs would make everyone equal in the sense of what resources are available to them. While earning more money for the teams, professional sports are for entertainment only. So using PEDs will only increase the entertainment value and should be allowed in all professional sports. And so I will leave you with this. Ramar Tirado, a writer for the Huffington Post, had this to say about performance-enhancing drugs. So I say go ahead. Show me your surgically modified, genetically altered, steroid-injected best version of yourself. Why not hide the portions of you that are real and only show the world the parts that you make perfect for public consumption? After all, it seems the cool kids are already doing it. And if we're all going to pretend to be better than we actually are, then why shouldn't everyone else have the same opportunity, even a professional athlete? Thank you.